We're back with one more down. Today we have a longtime friend of mine, Robert Darnell Sr, offensive guard, middle linebacker, South High class of 1993. Played on the very last team that South ever produced. And I've known this man since seventh grade, going all the way back to 1987 when he reappeared back in Youngstown. And over those years, it's been a pleasure to see his progression, see the solid man that he's developed into, and then, get a feel for who he is and the things that motivate him in his life, and have a conversation about friendship, manhood, and of course, football. So welcome to One More Down today, Rob. It's a pleasure to have you on and get to spend this time with you.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. You always been a solid dude in my eyes, and I was shocked when the opportunity came up to speak. So I appreciate being included on this platform. I've seen all the interviews with some people legendary. I consider legends out of Youngstown, Ohio. So I appreciate you wanting to speak to me.
No doubt, it's a no-brainer for me. You represent and embody a lot of the characteristics about what this programming is about, what this platform is about. It's centered around football, but it's mostly about the development of young men into men, and then the things that shape you and put you on that path. In saying that, I'd like to start out with who you are, where your beginnings were in Youngstown, and get into a little of those conversations about family, friendship, football.
Okay. I live in Columbus now. Been here since 2000. I'm married. We have 6 children. All of them have gone on to graduate college. Actually, my youngest is a senior in college now. They're spread out throughout the country. Yeah, man, that's what I'm up to now. So we empty nesting. I'm enjoying that. It's a beautiful thing, Yeah, that's all I'm up to right now.
My first interaction and introduction to you was at Princeton Junior High School, when you came to our school towards the end of the year, 7th grade. Where'd you start out when you returned back to Youngstown after living in the South for a while?
I came back. Me and my mom and my brother and my sister, and we moved in with my grandfather on Brentwood. You live one street over, and I was excited. I was actually mad at you guys because that year y'all went on strike in the beginning of the year, so I would have been out of school. But when I moved back to Youngstown, I think we went to like the middle of June or something, if I'm not mistaken. I know it was deep into June because y'all went on strike. So I came into my end of my 7th grade year and got introduction to all you guys, you and Carl Curry, Andre Logan, who else? Kendrick Hadwood, just all Delaney, just all the guys around there. And then, y'all kind of all took me in, and remember we played, Brentwood against Winona, and you just, what I mean? Oh man, there was some good times. So I felt like I just fit right back in, you know what I mean?
I do. When I think about those times in that period in our life, life was simple. You had neighborhoods full of kids that, whether it be, playing together, fighting each other, it was just a melting pot, and you had to find your place and get in where you fit in. What prompted you moving in with your grandfather, and can you talk a little bit about who he was and what he meant to you in taking that on?
We was moving back. My mom was married, and she was like in an abusive relationship. So we left Georgia to come back up here. And of course, my grandfather, which was her dad, took us in. And as far as him, Lee Darnell, I don't know, he was the man to me. He took care of everybody. And so he welcomed us in. He was strict, but he was the man to me. He did everything. He made sure everything was okay. Not everything, everybody was okay. Yeah, so that's what happened. We moved back up here from Georgia, and because of that situation, and he took us in, no questions asked. His house is our house, and we stayed with him. I think it's in my freshman year of high school.
You know, when you're in transition and you know, going through things in life, dealing with challenges and obstacles, when you think of a person who's raised children, uh, opening his home back up to absorb someone, put some of his life on pause, share his space, that speaks to the type of men that were around and available to us during our youth. Um, how did that impact you at that time? Him doing that for you, and then when you look back on that, you know, how do you view it as an older uh, adult and a father yourself, seeing what that sacrifice really means in totality?
We'll see. That was the first time I had seen a man be like the head. My mom was married, but she was always like in control. You know what I mean? So all my life I had seen a woman like, no, you move this way, you do this, you do that. But coming back and watching him, it was his household. He was the man of his household. And that's the first time like he started talking to me about different things. Um, it's almost funny to say now, you know, like everybody lies, right? But at one time, man, I was a habitual liar. You'd be like, you got on blue shoes? Nah, I got on red shoes, but I got on blue. You know what I mean? And you know, you grow up and you hear them, you know, people like word is bond, son. You know, you hear that. But at one time, I don't know what I lied about something, man. And he like grabbed me. He was like, your word is your bond. And I'm like, what you talking about? And so he explained it to me. Now I can't never say I never lied after that moment, but but I've been more conscious about like, okay, especially like the people that I care about, um, that I love, um, my kids, um, my wife, you know, you want to be honest with them. And so watching him and living with him showed me how a man moves. You know what I mean? And not just so much brawn and strength, but even cooking. Like my grandfather cooked. He could and he can't and he could cook. You know what I mean? I had a grandmother, he was married, my grandmother, but he did the cooking, he washed the clothes, he did all that. So it just showed me like being a man don't necessarily mean I go to work, come home, put my feet up, and so he was the breadwinner. My grandmother didn't work. I'm sorry, she worked, but she had retired. So he worked, but he still came home and cooked. She cooked too, but I don't know. It just showed me like what a man's supposed to do. It is not all about just being brawn and you know and pounding your fist on the table, but being whole, being a complete man.
You know, when you're relaying that and expressing that, it makes me think of all the male figures that I've had in my life, and I can relate to that. You know, manhood is multifaceted and it's not one dimensional. And for you to have that exposure at a time where you're really figuring out who you are as a male, that's important to have that foundation. You know, not everybody has that nuclear family, nuclear household, white picket fence. So,
Right.
you know, kudos to your grandfather for stepping in there and showing you the direction to follow as you were figuring out how to become a man.
Mhm.
Um, you know, what is your first significant memory of entering into athletics and the game of football?
Uh, Probably playing for the boys club. It was short lived. It was just one season, and I was on the Pee Wees or you know the babies. We had lived in Akron for a little bit, and we had moved back to Youngstown. Just when I was young, and I played for the boys club, and that was my first experience playing a sport. I remember my helmet was too big, you know, shoulder pads too big. I remember running and I remember getting stiffed arm, and I didn't play a lot. I was little, but that was my first experience. I mean, it just was a big deal. I remember walking to practice with your helmet and your shoulder pads, and yeah, man, it was. Then everybody played down in Bonnie Rogers. That was my first experience playing football. Like I said, I didn't play that much, but it was a great experience, though. It was a great experience for the men down there. Coach Dickey, I can't remember his last name. Coach Melvin, and the only player, I think I told you this, the only player I can really remember is we called him Sergeant Slaughter. I remember he was skinny, he was tall, and just a good dude. Kind of took me under his wing, but yeah, man, that was my first experience of playing football, any type of sport, to be honest.
And then when you go back to the makeup of what youth football was down there in the park, it seemed like back in that day there was more people in Youngstown. To me, it felt like we lived in a big city, because there were so many families there. And you go down in the park on those Saturday mornings, it's an all-day affair, and people are down there packing up the hillside, lining the outside of the fence behind the barrier. Do you have any memories of playing on those two fields down there behind Mill Creek Community Center, and maybe not the intricate details, but more just the atmosphere and what that meant as a youth?
Yeah, man, it's funny you said that. And that's why I said it was short lived. Like I said, I didn't play that much, so I got into the game, and whatever happened, I don't even remember. That's insequential. But I was just so happy we won, and so my mom said, "Okay, you can walk home." I was with some older guys, and like you said, it was everybody, all the kids walked home together. We just had a good time, hanging out down there. So she let me stay. And I don't know if you remember, but when you came out of Boney, it was like a little park right there that everybody used to play at. When you walking up past the was it Mill Creek Community Center, when you was coming up out of from the bottoms of the hill, it was a playground right there. So we over there playing on the playground. I'm having a great time, man. I'm like, wow, this is like maybe the first time my mom kind of trusted me to kind of hang with the older kids, and I can walk home. So I'm getting ready to leave. Somebody stole my helmet and shoulder pads. Bruh. Bruh. So now she got to pay for this. Already had to beg to play. So, you get the threats of, I'm going to beat your butt. You better find a helmet and shoulder pads. So that was the end of my that was the end of my football experience with the boys club. I barely played, but that was a great day. But that's my biggest memory, other than practice, is somebody stole my stuff, and they like, I don't know what happened to him. Somebody got me, so I just walked home in my pants and t-shirt and my football cleats, and man, that was probably my biggest memory from down there. But just one of them things, man. You know how I go. I got caught slipping. I should have paid closer attention to my stuff. But you see a park, you just throw your stuff down, you run and start playing. Came back, everybody's stuff was there but mine. So they got me.
So through your progression, you transitioned to different regions and different areas of the country. When you return back to Youngstown as a seventh grader, a lot of people that didn't go through the Princeton experience, they don't realize how nutty and crazy that school actually was. So, for me, it was an adjustment because Cleveland School is really a neighborhood school. Mm-hmm. And then, when you progress into Princeton or Boney or Adams, Hayes, whatever it may have been at that time for the different sides of town. It's an adjustment coming from the very beginning of the year. For you to come into that environment at the very end of the year, what was your assessment of that, and how did you, find your way and maintain?
This is crazy. I got so many stories. So my first day of school at Princeton, you nervous. Like you said, I hadn't been up there since the second or third grade, so I didn't really know nobody. My cousin Andrea Williams and Erica Williams was there, and so I go to lunch, and I see my cousin Nikki. I'm like, "Whoa, thank you, Lord." You know what I mean? So she talked to me. She introduced me to a couple people, and I felt a little bit at ease. So I go to class, and we sitting there, and $1 or $2 fell out my pocket. I ain't gonna say the young girl's name, but she was like, "That's my money." I'm like, "No, it ain't. That's mine." You know what I mean? So I put it in my pocket, and I'm like, "No, it fell out." Everybody's seen it. So she looks at me. She said, "I'm gonna get my boyfriend to beat your A," and I'm like, and everybody's like, "Ooh." So I'm like, "Well, who are boyfriend?" You know what I mean? So they say Tyson. I'm like, Tyson? They like, "Ooh." And I'm like, "Who is Tyson?" And they're like, Jermaine Ingram, but I don't know who that is, right? But everybody looking at me like, "Woo." So I'm like, so now I'm scared, like, who is this dude? Man, after school, when I tell you I ran home, dude, I snuck out that side door. I was out all the way to my grandfather's house. And so the next day I come to school, and to this day, he is my brother to this day. Jason Ingram walked up to me. He's like, "Man, you good?" I know him. He ain't gonna do nothing to you. You good? So I'm like, okay, at least I got one person on my side. And they had the same last name, so I'm thinking this is cousin or something. Come to find out, they not really related. If they no, they're not related. But I don't know. But that's my first memory of Princeton. So I'm already scared. Get up there. The girl tried to say I stole her money. And then she threatened to have her boyfriend beat me up, who evidently was knocking cats out left and right. So I ran home my first day of school at Princeton.
That just speaks to the development of a young mind, and not necessarily having the tools, the skills, or the foundation to process and navigate through conflict resolution. That's something that in Youngstown during those days, uh, don't nobody want to hear the explanation, the reasons. They just want you to throw them hands up, and
Yeah,
you either gonna give one or take one.
right. I wasn't giving him. I know. I ain't know him. I just knew when the whole class say "ooh," now that don't sound good. It wasn't one person. I mean, the whole class was like, "Oh, nah, man." I just like, I'm gonna live to see another day. I gotta go.
So as you come back for that second year, and get settled in and find your footing, who are the people that are you're bonding with and gravitating towards, and really building that foundation and that friendship of allies with?
Just all the guys on the street, uh, Carl. Um, Remember Andre Dort? He lived on your street though. You, um, what's his name? Kendrick, Andre Logan, just all the Danny Newman, all the dudes down there, and Timothy Nelms, all the guys that basically grew up on Brent. We all walked to school together. We all walked home together. Um, yeah, man, those are the guys that I ran with. I met Fred Winlock. I remember he was like one of the first guys I met. He was cool. Jason, I told you, Jason, me and him been cool ever since that day. My second day at Princeton. So him, but that's mostly who I hung around. We walk. You hung with the people in your neighborhood, so you walked to school with them. Y'all walked home. Y'all played street football. My grades wasn't up to par, so my mom wouldn't let me play football my eighth grade year, and that was on me. I didn't do what I needed to do. So those are the guys that I hung with, and then up and going into high school.
Now, as we enter high school in the fall of 1989, like you're relaying those different pockets of kids in our neighborhood. People are splintering off and making different choices for themselves. Some are taking the Wilson path, some are opting to go to Cheney, which was me, Sylvester, and Heron Thompson. For you stick with the home school and the home team, the South High Warriors up there on Market Street. What is the driving force behind the choice to go into South for you?
I always wanted to go to South. Even when we lived in Georgia, growing up, I just always had dreams of going to South. My uncles went there. My mother, my grandmother, it's just like that. That's the high school that I always wanted to go to. So when we moved back up to Youngstown, it was no way I was not going there. My grandfather wanted me to go to Cheney. He really wanted me to go to Cheney, but I begged and pleaded with my mother to go to South. And it wasn't like I knew a bunch of people at South. It just was like that was the school. And even sitting here today as a 49-year-old man, I still like, and maybe it's a bias, you might feel the same way about Cheney. Like everybody wanted to go to South. They might not admit it publicly, but everybody wanted to go to South. We had the variety show. We had a field house, man. We had an elevator in our school. I mean, so we had everything at South. So that's how I wanted to go to South. And we ended up moving out, and my mom got her own house going into my freshman year. And I think that's what made the transition better, because she didn't have to hear her dad's mouth. I didn't have to hear my grandfather's mouth. And so I was able to go to South, become a Warrior.
So let's talk about that athletic side of your time there and what that is. So are you playing that freshman year, or do you start as a sophomore?
No, I started as sophomore. My freshman year, we played freshman and JV. Well, not no JV. We had a freshman team or JV, whatever you want to call it. So I played that. Got kicked off the team the end of my freshman year. Me and a good friend now too. We, of course, you was kids then. Me and Brian Frost fighting on the sideline of the East game. I don't even remember what we was fighting over. Just something stupid, but we got kicked off the team. But yeah, I just played JV my freshman year. My sophomore year is when I started.
And then, as you're entering into that environment and into that experience and finding yourself as a player, who are some of the guys that are initially, the guys or the man on the team as you're entering into South? Like who's the big time guys?
Man, hey, listen, my freshman year, I think they went 0-10. And for the life of me, I can't understand it. Man, we had Joe Robb, you had White Steve, you had Gerald Marshall, you had Eric Bankston, Carl Weaver, you had Danny Levy. I think Shimmy was the starting quarterback. He was only a sophomore. He was a year older than me. We had William Miller. You had oh my gosh, man, it was so. You had big Walter Clayton, Quentin Harris. The dude who actually really got me into football. Not got me into football, but I pay homage to him a lot when I talk about this, because a lot of people don't know. But he built up my confidence. Was a dude from down the hill named Pumpkin, Dwayne Oliver. He used to cut my hair. And he was like, man, come on and come out. And he was a big dude. So him, LaVance Turnage. Man, it was so many guys. And I can't, for the life of me, I don't know how they went 0-10. But so when you say who was the man, everybody, when people hear this, they'll be like, yeah, how did y'all go 0-10? I don't get it. I don't get it, because we had, and there was some real dudes, and they weren't little guys either. There was some big, nice sized dudes. Booker Newberry. Now was Nate there? I think Nate Armstrong was there too. So I don't understand it. I don't understand it, but those was the guys. Oh, hold on, I forgot about Roosevelt Griffith, Willie Gibson. Yeah, man, we gonna put that on the coaching. That's what we'll put that on. Because I mean, them. If you don't know them, then you like, oh, they're just some names. But if you know all them guys I just named, them was some dogs, man. All of them.
Yeah, a lot of those guys were, really great players, multi-talented athletes, and a lot of those names had hands in that knuckle game too. So,
Yeah,
I don't know how y'all would go 0-10. At least I
yeah,
don't know if it was 0-10 off the field, but it definitely shouldn't have been on the field with some of the people that you just named. Um,
yeah.
it. So when you do start to elevate and enter the lineup, what is the uh, outline of that? How does that happen for you?
Um, I don't, man. I don't know, man. I always wanted to play fullback. Back then they had fullbacks. I knew I wasn't playing running back because you had Demesko, you had Torrance, True. You had some nice backs. So I'm like, I could play fullback because once again, them dudes is all bigger than me. But I don't know what ended up happening, man. But they came to me and said, you got to play guard. So of course I'm mad. Nobody want to play on the line. But it was a pathway for me to start. So it was our line was me, Ben Trammell, um, Big Nate, and I want to say, remember Daryl Dudley? I think Daryl passed now, but I think Daryl Dudley. I'm not 100% sure. And so I moved to guard, and that's just what it was. I didn't have no choice really. Um, and I played linebacker. I didn't start at linebacker my sophomore year because you still had Eric Bankston, and I want to say Joe Rob, not I don't know, but Eric and somebody else started. I played though. I got some PT, but Eric Bankston and somebody else was the starting linebackers, and I just got a little tick on defense. But I started guard my sophomore year though.
So we're talking about 1990 would have been our sophomore year in high school, and there's still a lot of great competition within the league and around the area.
Mm-hmm.
You guys were in D1 at that time for a city school, which made that playoff path really hard. You playing the big name schools, the Canton McKinleys, the Boardmans. You guys scrimmaging Mooney, and then you have to contend with Rand, East. We're finding our footing that year, but we're not the dominant team that we ended up becoming. So it's a lot of parity in that. For you, being a young sophomore and having to take on some of that talent around the area, what, how did you navigate that?
Man, to be honest, once I committed to playing guard and got that out of my head, like you playing, I was happy to be on the field, and then it made me feel like one of the guys. And you know what? I'm gonna tell you what, Joe Rob was still there. So Joe Rob was there. I remember that. And so all just to be a younger guy, but to get the love from all them older dudes, it felt good. And you want to be a part of something. You rather play than sit on the bench. And so just to be out there, man. And like you said, them was some good times. I still remember our first victory. We started every year off playing Boardman, and we knew what that was going to be. They dressing 90 dudes. We got 35, 40 max. And we went down and played Wintersville. And man, they had went 0-10 the year before, and we had went 0-10. And we came out of that with the victory. We had to get a police escort out there. They were spitting on us. That was wild. That was wild. I had never experienced anything like that. So and then to be a part of that, you know what I mean? And I mean, I'm gonna toot my horn a little bit, but I never forget this. We ran a 32 trap, and I was the trapping guard. And I came down and kicked out that defensive tackle. And I remember Joe Rob just, and I'm like, I mean, it felt great. You know what I mean? To get that dub, man. It really felt good. So once that happened, that's just what I played. I play guard and I play a little bit of linebacker, and it just is what it is.
And then what are your memories of league competition and city games against the different personalities, the different teams during the 90 season, 91 season, 92 season?
Those was great, man, because you see guys like we seen y'all. Maybe not that season, but I know my junior and senior year, we wanted to beat you guys. And then, then like you think about Tate and Tawan Tillers and stretching them from Rand. You had Stanford and Deion Ingram and them at Wilson, Andre Jackson, them at Mooney. So it was like, I don't know, man. To me, it was a good time to be a athlete in the city at that time. And I'm gonna tell you what really got us. I remember, I think it was my freshman. I don't know, it might have been my sophomore year. Because Lamar and all them was there then. And after the game, everybody used to go up to Burger King up on Midlothian. Is that Midlothian? Yeah, but on Midlothian. And you would see the Cheney and Mooney dudes. You guys all had Letterman coats. And I'm like, man, so we all went and got Letterman coats. I don't know, it was a good time, man. You had your pride. Then you went to the basketball games with your Letterman coat on, and you would see different guys around, and just, I don't know, just being an athlete in that era, in that time, and like you said, 90 to 93 when we was all playing, it was a great feeling. We wanted to beat y'all. We went back and forth with Rand and East and Wilson. I don't think we might have beat y'all my sophomore year, but I know we didn't beat y'all my junior and senior year. I know that was a thorn on our side.
I'll go ahead and correct you. Y'all ain't beat us y'all sophomore year either. It was close though. It was 13-6 that sophomore year.
Okay.
But that 11th and 12th grade.
Yeah, I try to block that out, man. I try to block it out. But I knew we wanted to beat you guys. We wanted to beat you guys. My senior year, that opportunity got took away from us. My junior year, we felt like, I mean, you can always say if whatever, but our junior year at halftime it was 7-7. But we like to party a little bit, so we played y'all at noon. We didn't get home to about 5 or 6 in the morning. All of us is drunk. I mean, all of us. So you cannot, at that time, you 16, you don't understand. You can't play a game drunk. And, we had to be at the field house like at 8 or 9. So we go home, everybody, you lay down for an hour at that. You go to the field house, man, we in there drinking honey, for the boost of energy. In the first half, we was good. Done deal. I don't remember what the final score was, but I know it was bad. It was like 28-7. You got that score too? Was it 28-7?
Yeah, it was 29-7. And you're right. The first half was back and forth, nip and tuck. Mm-hmm. But I tell you, the old turf at YSU, that thing was like being on a mirror when the sun was up. And I remember I read the article earlier. It said that the temperature on that day was 90 plus degrees, but on that turf it was over 100. And I remember during the game, guys catching cramps, guys falling out from heat exhaustion. And, with that noon start, that sun is at its highest point, and it just got hotter and hotter and hotter.
Yeah.
And, when we recount these experiences in these games, from our end, we remember that game. And the one thing about what made us successful as a team was, the conditioning regimen at Cheney was it was nuts. You know what I mean? So that is what pulled us through more than talent or it being a lopsided game. You know, it really
Right.
wasn't that in play. It was just the conditioning won out in the second half. And, you know, I'll take that. A W is a W, you know.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Now, you know, for us, you know, the clique of guys that were supposed to be at South, you know, I think for us, we made that choice to go to Cheney because it was what was best for us as individuals, just to
Mhm.
have a different experience and a different chance.
Right.
But I think for each of us, and when I say each of us, I'm referring to myself, Mark Heron, Dwayne Thompson, Kenyon Meadows, Chuck Ramey, and Sylvester Patton,
Mhm.
because we were all South Side guys. We had all
Right.
went to school with you guys, were friends with you guys. You know, part of us really wanted to be at South, you know, and South really got robbed of a lot of talent during that
Yeah.
time because, you know, moms and dads are making choices for their sons
Mhm.
to, you know, steer them clear of the things that were going on in the streets at that time. You know, you just want
Mhm.
to protect your children. I understand that as a parent
I
now,
do too.
but
I do too.
then, you know, it's like, hey, I don't want to go across town with people I don't know. But it ended up being the best choice for me. Um,
Right.
what was you guys' opinions of watching different guys at different schools? Dwayne Thomas over at Mooney, Andre Jackson, the Chris Emils,
Yeah.
uh, my collective over at Cheney, some of the guys that were doing their thing at Wilson were
Mhm.
supposed to be South High guys. You know, how did you guys feel about not being at full strength because people were making those different choices to go a different way?
Right. Well, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, I never I it never it I guess I knew you guys was supposed to be there, but you guys weren't. So it wasn't like, dang, if we had them, we would be this or whatever. It's just like we want to beat them. Um, but we didn't have the discipline um to do that. We had the talent, but we didn't have no discipline. Even with that being said, I wouldn't change my experience at South High for nothing. And it was more than just the football, right? That was a small piece of my experience at South. Um, would I have liked us to been better? Yes. But to this day, those are still my brothers, every single one of them. We still talk. We laugh about it now. Um, but no, we didn't think about it. Not at least we never talked about it. We wanted to beat y'all. When we saw y'all, we would joke and laugh and say we gonna do this or that, and we all jab at each other. But it was never like no vindictive stuff. At least I never felt that. I never got that from you either, or none of you guys. And we was on the same street or in the same, like Sylvester grew up, right up the street. So we never had no confrontation and none of that stuff. Me and Andre Jackson never had no problems or nothing of the sorts. Everybody that's just the school you went to. Um, and that just was it. The only time I remember saying anything, I remember I was talking to Mr. Patton one time, and I'm like, man, why you make Slide go to Cheney? And he just nah, man, it just made a choice for him. And then he was running for um, he was a councilman, if I'm mistaken, wasn't he? Wasn't he a councilman?
State representative.
But he was a city councilman at first too, wasn't he?
He may have been.
The
I'm
reason I
not
say
certain.
that is because he was running. He came down by the house. He was talking to my grandfather, and I remember saying to my grandfather, like, "Why you want to represent an area that he don't even think good enough for his son to go to school in?" And my grandfather's like, "You will understand when you get older." And so that's the only type of bitterness maybe that I felt, because I remember, his father and his uncle went to South. His uncle was a monster at South, and so that might be the only time I felt any bitter. But I wasn't like mad at Sly or nothing like that. And they don't even know that story. That was a conversation with me and my grandfather. But as I have had children and raised them, you understand you make different decisions for your children. So um, it just is what it is. But I'm a South High warrior till I die. I love my experiences at South. Um, I wish things would have been a little bit different on the football field, but at the end of the day, we had a ball. We still did what we need to do.
You know, my mom is an alum of South, and you know she loves that school to death. They still hold their class reunions on a regular basis.
Mhm.
So you know when you talk about that, you talk about that family experience, and you know those deep, long friendships that you end up developing over the course of decades. Um, you know, for us, like you said, there was never any animosity, and you know, we didn't look at you guys as uh, not good enough or not on the level or not able to compete. But I think just because Youngstown is a place that's built off of competition anyway, nobody wants to be on the losing side. So you're
Right.
gonna do whatever you got to do to try to get that win, however you got to get it. Um, you know, for that school to be a pillar and one of the two original high schools in the city,
Mhm.
um, you know, you're talking about a history of from 1911 up to your senior year when
23.
you all are the last class for that school. When you all get that news that South is gonna close, you know that all that history is coming to an end. You know what does that news do for your class, for the underclassmen, in terms of coming to that realization that they're shuttering the doors on one of the great institutions in the city that's produced so much talent, so many great minds, so many colorful personalities. You know, how was that for you guys?
It was devastating. Um, it hurt. You know, I mean, we used to stage walkouts. We would walk out of class. Um, we argued. It's an article, man. I remember I went down to the Board of Education, and we was arguing with the with people on the board. I remember it was a lady, and it's like you know, when you got different resources or different things, and I should have known this about myself back then. Like I'm passionate. When I feel something about something, I'm very passionate. And so I went down there and I had did some homework, and I found out one of the board members, like she on the board member, but you send your son to Ursuline. So we in the and I brought that up, like you don't care nothing about us. How you making decisions on my school? Your son don't even go to a Youngstown public school. He go to Ursuline. And I remember her just looking at me like, you know what I mean? Like, how did he know that? But I was doing my homework, and it I remember I was in the newspaper and I'm like this, and I'm like, dang, they got me like it like I was yelling. I probably was yelling, but I was very passionate. I was fighting about keeping our school open. But once again, my grandfather set me down, and that's when he showed me like they not closing Cheney, they not closing Wilson, and that's because a lot of them have a lot of homeowners. You know, they pay their taxes. I don't know how true this is, but they said that Rand had a what you call it, like a grant or something from a judge. So they always
Right.
said they would never close Rand. And then East was the only school on the east side. So if you out of South and Wilson, you know which one they closing. It's no taxpayers. Um, they was bringing up stuff about if so many kids, but kids, you know, kids wasn't going to school, this and that and the other. But at that, I didn't care about that. Like this, is my school, don't shut it down. But you know, inevitably they shut it down. But it didn't break us because we still, like I said, are pretty close. We just had our 30th class reunion last summer, and man, we had a ball. And it was people from other classes who ended up graduating from Cheney or Wilson or Rand, and they was like, "No, we still Warriors." You know, what I mean, they might have had to go there for 1 year, but it was devastating, man. It was really devastating because we all felt like South was just the best school in the high and best high school in the city. So it most definitely hurt our feelings.
You know, let's take a little jump back in time, pull up a little bit of footage from that last meeting, South and Cheney. I know yourself and Willie Thompson, you guys didn't get to play in that game. Really wish you guys would have, because you always want your competition at their best so you can measure where you're at. So, unfortunately, I don't have the footage from the year before when you guys were both out there. But, being a warrior and being true to your team, true to your school, your firsthand knowledge of the personalities and the people that did participate in that, I'd like to get your take on what that time period was and what it meant to you.
Okay.
All right, so let's get into a little footage. This is 1992 at South Field House, the last time that Cheney and South bang heads with each other before the closure. You and Willie are missing from this, so I'll absolve you from any responsibility for this massacre that's about to be displayed. But it's great to see guys out there doing their thing. Some of those guys have passed on. Donald Hudson's no longer with us. I don't think Torrance Gilmer played this year. Demesko was hurt his senior year. So, but there's guys. Robert Johnson, he was running hard in this game. Tremaine Smith was balling. Marcus McQueen was a force and an impact in this game. So it's good to see guys you grew up with, grew up around, know what they are and what they're about. So we're gonna play a little bit of this and go back.
Demetrius Jones kicking off for the Warriors. Dwayne Thompson and Ron Allen, the deep men for Cheney.
Mike Lawrence.
Mike Lawrence on the return. Sylvester passing the ball. Pitch from Avril at a pat, and he goes.
Marcus McQueen right there.
Yeah. Oh man, it's hurting my feelings.
Look at Amos Wilson.
Hey, Amos was nice too, man. He was a young boy.
Yeah. Tremaine Smith.
Tremaine Smith.
The wrong way. That was sad happens.
Chuck Ramey coming off the corner there.
Chuck Ramey on the.
Man.
Yeah, boy, Kenyon Meadows and Keith Winford in the foot race.
Keith Winford.
Keith Winford on the touchdown saving stop.
Good tackle, Sean Hayes. Oh, no, that was Jimmy. That was Jimmy Hayes. Is that King?
That Bowser the ball.
No, that was Phil Bowser.
That's the ball carrier, but down at the 30, short yardage.
The game is so much different then because it's really tight end, two tights.
Let's play in the box.
Right.
Played in the box just before spreading anybody out.
And even if you did spread somebody out, you're still running dives and traps.
Right.
Robert Johnson, the side.
I'll fast forward a little bit.
Marcus McQueen on the return of 6 yards.
It's Robert Johnson.
Robert Johnson, the ball carrier.
And he was fast too, man. He was only a freshman then too.
Right.
Robert Johnson is out.
This is out.
Kenya Meadows on the stop. Pitch from Tremaine Smith to Robert Johnson. The only score of the game.
Yeah.
See the frustration?
Dom Con tried to hold Jason Moore to kick.
Who's that? James Taylor?
I think so. They're really standing over there. What's that man? You know where he goes? Standing over there on the sideline.
Robert Johnson, the ball carrier.
That was a level.
Dwayne Thompson on the return.
Oh, that's enough. Oh, that hurt my heart, man.
Nice pass. He's wide open. That kill was false. He never went to the ball. He still could have recovered. What are you? You're 16, right? Yeah. Robert Johnson, the southpaw. You gotta get rid of it. He's running again.
It's the one where True get me.
Tremaine Smith. Dwayne Thompson. Tremaine.
There it is.
Tremaine Smith.
Like, man, give us that. Oh, wow. Wow.
You know, it just shows that, regardless of the outcome in that final score, there were definitely guys out there that had ability and talent. And then, even though that South didn't come out on the favorable end of that, everybody was out there playing. They're not really giving up. The effort is there, and that's what you want to see, because this time period and athletics doesn't last forever. So you better do what you can do with it while you have it. As we shift into the other parts of life, post high school and after competition, as you look back on that time period and what you were about as a 17, 18-year-old guy, what does that evoke in you?
Pride. That was probably like, you had to say that was the best time of your life, because I didn't have some great times getting married, my children, watching them compete and different things. But it was most definitely a great time in my life. We I don't know, man. My 4 years at South was like, it was a good time. It was a good time. And like I said, take the football stuff away, the relationships that I made there, the teachers, just everything, man. It was a good time. And like you said, like just being on the South side of Youngstown. I mean, it was a lot of foolishness going on, but it was home. You knew everybody. You felt like you belonged there. And South was like, to me, like the staple on the South side. Yeah, man, I just look back with fond memories with South. And like I said, we had our 30th year class reunion this past year. And to see some of those people, I hadn't seen them probably in 30 years, but we sat down and talked like we just was together yesterday. And so it brought a lot of people back close together. And we talked about a lot of those memories. And I don't know, man, South, that time, 90 to 93 was a good time to be living on the South side of Youngstown, from my perspective.
So as you graduate high school and, you are looking for what you want to do and figuring life out, can you take me through some of that pathway of what happens and how you progress and ultimately wind up where you are and what you're doing now? What do you do after graduation?
After graduation, things went downhill for me for a couple of years. I just started having kids. I had like boom, 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 boom. So I went to college. Let me say that. I went to college, was at YSU. And it's crazy because I went to Central State, and that didn't work out because YSU was like, you could be a Prop 48, but I didn't really care about school anyway. I just wanted to keep playing football. So went down to Central State. That didn't work out. So I came back. Remember the lady I told you was on the school board? I'm gonna say her name because she ended up helping me, and I'm not talking bad about her. Her name was Miss Brown. And my grandfather and her had struck up a friendship because they washed clothes together at the same laundromat. And so when I came back, she was also a professor at WashU. And she said, so we was washing clothes, and she looked at me, and so it was kind of like a laugh in between us. And she said, so what are you doing now? And I said, well, nothing. I just came back. She said, why aren't you in school? And so we talked about football and this and that and the other. And do you know, so this like on a Saturday, that Monday, she said, come to my office. So me and my grandfather went. She called it, the athletic director at YSU that time was Joe Malmasor. She called him and said, hey, I got a young man here. He needs to be in school. He plays football, blah, 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 blah. And so we ended up meeting with him and Tressel. And Tressel was kind of iffy because I had walked away the first time. And it wasn't like I was the best prospect ever, but I guess he figured he would give me a chance. Plus, he had a good relationship with Coach Demesko. So Coach Demesko gave his word, whatever. So they let me in. I'm like, wow, you got a second chance. So I'm living in the dorm. Willie Thompson was my roommate. They had won a national championship that year before. So, of course, they saying, do what you needed to do so you be ready for winter conditioning. Rob don't got no discipline. So the first day of winter conditioning, oh my gosh, man, I thought I was going to die. I mean, die. So I'm thinking they ain't paying me no attention. We doing mat drills. I sneak out the side. I literally go back to my dorm room and just lay across my bed. I mean, that's how out of shape I was. And so I'm like, all right, I'll be all right. I'll go back tomorrow. Knock on the door. Hey, coach want to see you. I didn't know I left. There's so many people in there. I didn't know I left. So, just me not thinking. I go, and he jumps in my butt. So what do Rob Darnell do? The Rob Darnell thing. I get to cussing. You sorry, mother. And the whole time, Trust was just looking at me like, he didn't say 2 words. Just looking at me. And I left. I just walked out. Like, yeah, they'll call. Because everybody always called and we talk about it. Still waiting for Tressel to call me today. Never got the call, bro. And then I got too long. I was embarrassed to go back and apologize. Right? Willie wasn't playing because of some medical things. So I was talking to him and he was telling me, like, man, just go in there and apologize. And it wasn't like I was on football scholarship anyway. You know what I mean? I had came back to school and they was letting me be a part of the team and I could work my way back up. And to say the least, that didn't happen. So I blew that, right? Then the year after high school, my mom ended up passing away. And so my grandfather get me hired at Packard. So once again, I'm at Packard. I'm, doing good. I got kids, but I'm doing all right. I'm making good money. I'm in the streets a little bit, but I'm not really a street dude. I'm trying to be in the streets, but I'm really just in the way, if you want to be honest. I just thank God nobody killed me or, nothing like that. And so I'm making a little bit of money in the street. So, man, F Packard. I don't need Packard. And they had me working second shift. You don't tell me to work second shift. This is my thought process, just dumb. And so I end up walking away from Packard. Then I end up joining the military. just I don't know, just trying to find myself, man. Just doing a whole bunch of dumb stuff. So I'm in the military, and at the time, my ex is pregnant, and they telling me I can go home when she had a baby because we're in a new city and whoop, whoop, whoop. But when she had a baby, they don't let me go home. So you know what Rob did? I'm just going to leave. So I went AWOL. So now I'm AWOL. And I go back, had to turn myself in and went through that process. And they offered me to stay, but I would have had to go like 4 to 6 months without no pay because it was like Article 50. It was just a lot of stuff. And I'm like, nah, I can't do that. Plus, I'm used to running away from when things get hard anyway, like I'm out. So I leave and come back, and then I just kind of bounce around job to job. I don't have a job. I got 4 kids. It just was a mess, man. It was truly, my life was just a mess. And I got in a little bit of trouble, and I ended up moving to Columbus. And then that's like let me back up a little bit, Ron. The whole time I cannot go without this. The whole time I can hear God talking to me, right? But I ain't listening. I want to do what I want to do. And it seemed like he's just like, all right, eventually you coming back. You know what I mean? So that's how I say I ran from all these things. I heard him talk to me at WashU. I heard him talking to me at WashU. Didn't listen. Heard him talk to me when I was at Packard. Didn't listen. Heard him talk to me when I was in the military. Didn't listen. Then I come home and he like, to be honest with you, man, when I first moved to Columbus, I was homeless. I lived in a hotel for like 6 months and I was working like labor ready. You know what I mean? So my life was just in a shambles. It was really, 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 really messed up. But the whole time God was talking to me that whole time. And it wasn't until I kind of started listening to him and doing some of the right things. And then slowly but surely, he started changing that thing around.
You know, when you're going through these experiences and you know, finding yourself stepping in the potholes, you know, where does your wife come into the equation and helping you, you know, see the clearing from all the chaos that's happening and surrounding you?
Well, I used to date Shan in Youngstown, but and we, you know, we dated. We was together for a little bit, but that didn't work out. Just being young and both of us doing whatever we wanted to do or whatever. So we broke up, and I got back with my ex, and I said, all right, I'm definitely. I said I'm gonna try something different. We gonna move, and you know, I'm gonna get married, take care of my family. But that didn't work out. We should have never got married. Just we shouldn't have got married. We had kids, so that's why we got married, and it just didn't work out. And so when I had moved to Columbus, I never forget, it was a friend of mine. She said, Shannon live in Columbus. I'm like, oh, get her number. She's like, don't mess that girl's life up, Rob. She doing good. I'm like, man, just ask her, can I have her number? And so at first she wouldn't do it. And then she waited a little bit. So she asked her, and she said, yeah. So, you know me, I'm like, shoot, she down here. She got a place. I'm in there. So go over her house. We talk, and I'm chilling. So we get to like 8, 9 o'clock. She like, about time for you to go. I'm like, oh, I thought. She's like, this ain't that. So I left. So I'm calling her like, I want to take you out. Now, how I'm taking her out, I don't know, Ron. I don't got a car. And I don't really have no job. I don't know how I'm taking her out, but you know, it sounds good. So she tells me, we can go out if you go to church with me. And I ain't going to no church. But I heard, you know, I was raised in the church, and I kept hearing God, but I'm like, nah. So eventually I go to church. And then, so that's kind of how I got back in her good graces. And then we just kind of been together since. And then I end up, we started dating, I should say. And then I got custody of my children. And we've been together ever since.
You know, when can you talk a little bit about that navigation of fatherhood at such a young age, and going through these transition, and then when you get with someone who has that belief in you and can see the good in you and see the potential in you, you know, how could you kind of explain when you start listening and following and being a partner, how that adds increase to your life?
Yeah, man, I didn't grow up with my father. So part of me always said, whenever I had children, they was never going to look at me how I looked at him. And it wasn't like I hated him or anything. I just didn't know him. I didn't know him. I didn't have a relationship with him. My mother had told me some things about him. So cool. Like I told you, my grandfather was the man in my life. And as far as I'm concerned, even to this day, that's my dad, right? So, but I knew I always wanted to, when I became a father, I would be there for my children. But it's crazy for me to admit now, but when I was going through my trials and tribulations, I used to want to walk away. You know what I mean? Because it's hard being a father, whether you're with somebody or not. It's challenging. And me and their mother wasn't getting along. And I remember just thinking, like, why can't I just leave? Just leave and go somewhere else and just start my life. But I'm gonna say it was God. He just never allowed me. He just never allowed me to do it. I just could not walk away from them. And I think part of that, me growing up without my father in my life, I wanted to be there for them. And I thank God that he allowed that. You know what I mean? He allowed me to raise them. When I got custody of them, my oldest daughter was 6 and my youngest daughter was 2. So here you is with at the time, I'm 25, 26 with 4 kids. And that was that was challenging. I mean, I'm doing little girl's hair, all of that. And so then getting with Shannon was like, okay, we together, but I got my kids. And for her to step in and say, okay, I'm gonna ride this with you, I don't even understand it. That's what it got to be God. When people ask me, I just say Jesus, because what woman is gonna do that? It ain't like she was an ugly woman and didn't have, she could have dated somebody else. It was guys trying to talk to her, but for whatever reason, she like, nah, I'm gonna go with this dude who don't got no job, who's struggling, and on top of that, he got 4 kids. So I always say that was Jesus Christ, and so I'm grateful to her for that. She stepped in. She became a mother to 4 kids who she did not birth, and she had a son. And so she went overnight from having 1 son to now having 5. So I can imagine, and I would even tell my daughters if they was dating to do 4 kids, I would be strictly against it. Matter of fact, I do tell them there's only one Rob Darnell, and that's me. So, I got blessed with Shan, but I believe Shan got blessed with me because it's only one. My son name is Robbie too, but he not me. And it's hard to raise 4 kids. We ended up having 6 because we had a daughter together, but it's rough. And I would not advise my daughters today to do with 4 kids. I just wouldn't. And so for her to do that is short of amazing. I don't even have the words for it. I just say Jesus. And so we done built a life together. It ain't been easy. That's the truth. It's not been easy. It's been trials and tribulations, but we done stuck it through. And like I said, now we empty nesters and we reaping the rewards of that, buddy, because it was rough. It was rough. You saw us. You remember seeing us at the football field with all them kids, and it was rough. It was rough.
I do remember that, and it's why I have so much respect for you, because in these modern times, with all these choices, with all the distractions that are out there, and the things that can get in your way, the things that can fool you into thinking that a relationship is going bad or on the rocks. I commend you all for staying steadfast in there, seeing your children through success. And that's not easy, because even if it looks good from the outside looking in, everybody has their struggles, everybody has their setbacks, and nobody on the outside of that knows what it takes to get there or make it look that way.
Right.
You had the pleasure of coaching my nephew over at Northland High School, and I watched you make your transition from the little league levels of coaching, ushering your son through his high school experience, and helping him develop into earning a college opportunity for himself, playing the game. How much of what you got out of coaching was wrapped and rooted in fatherhood, and then the relationship with your own father or lack thereof?
Man, coaching was a great experience too. Yeah, I remember seeing your nephew from Pee Wee all the way through his graduation too. Coaching is very fulfilling, and them dudes keep you young. You know what I mean? They gonna talk about you. You come in there with some funny looking shoes on or something, or whatever. They gonna keep you up to date. It's so rewarding, man, when you see them go from, you see dudes can't do a 3-point stance, right? And then you see them today and they married, and or they got their degree, and you like, wow. On top of, I got to take that ride with my son. It's coaching was very rewarding, And I used to always say, man, we have to give them more than football, because 99% of them, that's not what they're going to do for a living. We need to teach them how to be men. And so I took that same, I think I took the same attitude as being a father out there. And I was hard on them. I can't say I was not hard. But one thing I kind of brag about, thank you, Jesus, up to this point, I've never had a former player run up to me like, you treated me wrong, you did me dirty. They always say, hey, Coach Darnell, and that means so much to me, because I know I was hard on them, but I pushed them to be, I want them to be good men, because I knew at the end of the day, that's what you're going to be. Nobody that I'm sorry, there's one guy that I coached who went and played in the NFL, but even today, he still is not in the NFL right this second. And let me say this, he was on the team that I coached. He played corner. I didn't coach cornerback, so I don't make it seem like I coached him per se. He just was on. He played for Northland, and I was on the coaching staff at that time. But I do have a lot of kids who went through and graduated college. The biggest one I'm most proud of is my son. He went, he played in college, and he got his degree, and he just a productive citizen. You know what I mean? So coaching meant a great deal to me.
And then, you've found your way out of, those rough times and settled into having a long, steady career with Allied Mineral Products. Can you talk a little bit about your entryway into that company, and then some of the supplemental things that you do on the side outside of your regular employment?
Yeah, that was a job, man, out of necessity. I told you when I first got with Shan, I was back and forth, working different jobs, odds and ends. I almost didn't even take that job because of having to miss work at another job. And they said if I missed that another day, they was going to fire me. And just being with Shan, and man, that was one of them times, like I said, she fussing and this and that. And I'm like, well, I ain't going to this interview, because at that time I'm only making, I don't know, $8 or something. I believe, I can't remember the exact number, but Allied was going to start me off at $10.50. That don't sound like a lot now, but 22 years ago, that's a lot. Well, I mean, from where I come from. And so she like, just go. So I got that job, and I say, once again, that was God. He blessed me. And I've been there ever since. I'm in quality now. And then when the COVID happened, everybody was scared. People was dying left and right. And I've always had a fascination with real estate and owning properties. We've owned a couple homes. So I said, hey, I'm going to try this thing. So I had COVID. You sitting in a room by yourself. And so I just start studying real estate. I got online, signed up for schooling. And I'm going to tell you what, man, it was crazy because they couldn't believe it. I finished my real estate classes in under 3 weeks. And this is on my own, online. It wasn't going it don't take a long time anyway, but this was online, like me just studying every day and just getting it through. So I finished that real quick. I think they gave me 6 months to do the class. I did it in under 3 weeks. That's how much I wanted my real estate license. So I've been doing real estate for a couple years now. That's very rewarding. Even when I leave Allied, I plan on still doing real estate. I'm doing a little shameless plug. So if you're in the Columbus area, I'm your man. Call me. We can get you some property, somewhere to live, or if you want to get some commercial property or some investment properties. So that's what I'm doing now, man. Outside of my regular 9 to 5, I deal with real estate, and I love it.
I feel privileged because, to see a guy as a 12, 13-year-old kid mature into a 49-year-old father, husband, and then just a all-around solid individual, somebody that I don't have a negative thing to say about you. You think about those guys that we grew up or associated with that didn't even make 25, didn't get to see what 30 was like, didn't
Yes.
get to grow into fatherhood and all of the rewards and the joys that comes from that. When you look back over the course of your development, when you go back to that time period of you as an athlete, if you had that one more down, to redo, to replay, what would that scenario be for you? Who would be along the ride with you? Can you set that up for us?
If I had to do all over again, one more down, man, my high school career is what it was, right? If I could do it all over again, I wouldn't have wasted my time with going to try to play college football. I would have moved to Florida and got into real estate. And that's what I would have did if I could go back and do, if I had one more down. I would keep everything the same, because those experiences, I don't think that they changed my life in one way or another. Just some good experiences, even the losses. We could sit back and laugh and joke, but that's what I would do. If I could change anything, this might not be what you was asking, but I thought about this when you just said that. If I could change one thing in my life, and me and you talked about this a little bit, is I would change having my father in my life. Me and him have a relationship today. We probably been had a relationship probably like the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. Maybe about 5 or 6 years. And I'm gonna tell this, and I pray that somebody hear this and take it to heart. And this is not a bashing of my mom, Judy Darnell. Loved her, but she was a normal young woman, living her life, dating my father at the time. And he was a young man. I think they both were probably 19, 20, whatever, in that age group. And he was doing his thing. I can't knock him, because I didn't do the same thing. You dating a couple girls, or you trying to do whatever you can do. But he was dating my mom as well, and she got pregnant. And so I don't know the whole dynamic of everything, but they end up breaking up, whatever. And so my mom told me that he said that I wasn't his son. Right. So my whole life, I'm like, all right. Like I said, I never hated him. It just was I didn't know him. So you feel like that, then cool. It's not a big deal. I got Lee Darnell. We good. So I don't know if people believe, but this how I keep saying God, like he always has been in my life, and he keep turning and twisting me and just guide me. Right before my grandmother died, which would be my mom's mom, we was talking, and I just was curious, and I said, "Hey, did he ever deny me?" She was like, "Nah, that's a lie from the pit of hell," right? So we all started laughing. He said, "Who told you that?" But I didn't want to go into, my mom, this and that. I just said, "Well, people talk." And she said, "Now, he didn't take care of you or whatever, but he never denied you." And I'm just like, wow. So it hit me right then and there, like, all right. So end up my aunt, who I was close to, which is my father's sister, got sick. And so I'm not gonna say fate. God would have it. We both end up at the hospital, and we just start talking. And we've been talking ever since. And so I was stressed to young women, if you with a man and y'all not working out for whatever reason, don't deny him that opportunity to talk to his children, or to be raised, for him to raise his children. I would challenge young men, if you have a child with a young lady and she's being difficult, that's okay. Press through and be there for your child. I've been through the same thing. I've been told you can't see your child, or whatever the case may be, right? But thank God, I'm not just saying it was all me. I fought, and I went to court, and I ended up getting, I ain't just get to see him. I actually got to raise him. I got custody of him. And so I just would challenge everybody on both sides. Think about your child, because here I am. Thank God I'm all right. I still had Lee Darnell. Keep throwing him in there. Still had Lee Darnell, but I was robbed of that opportunity to grow up with my father. And so today, me and him have I'm gonna say a great relationship. I don't expect anything from him except for I don't know, conversation. We talk probably like twice a week. It's not like the father and son type deal. But I can't lie if I said it didn't fill a void. I would be lying if I would say it didn't fill a void. And we cool. We talked about that situation a little bit, but I didn't want to get too deep into it because it really doesn't matter. And I didn't want him to say something negative about my mom, and then we back and she did what she did. Was she wrong with that? Yeah. But I just chalk it up as she was a young woman who was hurt, and she passed away when I was 18. So maybe she would have came eventually and said, hey, this, that, or the other, but she never got that chance. So it is what it is. So I would just encourage male and female, if you have a child with somebody, even if y'all not getting along, women, allow that man to be in a life, and men get in your child's life.
Man, that's a tremendous testimony. It's a good word. It's indicative of the type of man that you are and the things that you hold close to you and your moral character and code that you live by. I think all the ingredients that went into that pot of getting you to the point where you could see clarity for yourself and experience the success. No one detail is minor. Everything happens for a reason. Sometimes you just gotta open your ears and your eyes, and from what I get from what you said, you gotta open your ears, open your eyes, and just listen. I didn't expect the conversation to be as productive and poignant as it was today, but I appreciate you for being the man that you are and being transparent and open enough and comfortable enough to lay out that foundation, because we don't know who may benefit from hearing those choice words that you just gave. Thank you for giving me the time today. Thank you for being that example of how to keep going forward even when you feel like your back is up against the wall. So I wish you, continued success. I'm always keeping my eye on what's going on with you, and hopefully that filters down and lands on your children and benefits them 10 times more than it ever benefited you.
Hey man, I appreciate it. I feel honored. Like I said before, that you even wanted to talk to me and hear my story. You brought back some good memories. You got to have me dig through some tapes and try to find some old games and stuff. But I appreciate it, man. Nothing is, if you know me, everybody, nothing is more important to me than family. And maybe because growing up, I didn't have that. So my wife and my children is like, they my everything. So, yeah, man, but I appreciate you invoking some of these memories and stuff to bring some stuff back. Thought about old Rob D, some of the knucklehead stuff I did, and also some of the good things that I get. But your words mean a lot to me, man. Your words mean a lot. Thank you.